Hello, everyone, and hello, world. This is Dr. Marj Britt, founder of Called by Love Institute, Living Loving Legacy, and all of the amazing things that have come out of that. And today is a very, very special day. We are celebrating 7 years of co-creation between Fabienne and I, 7 years since she came to be with us and work with us here at Called by Love Institute. And she has created absolutely an incredible book that has all kinds of pictures in it. She didn't even let me see it until yesterday. and I can't wait for you to see it, for you to be able to share it. And it's truly such a gift to bring into our awareness all that we have experienced together in the last 7 years and a little bit before that, because Called by Love was actually called into existence by the Holy Spirit in 2011. It was sort of one of those moments for me where I was in a time of unknowing, not really understanding what was happening in my life, not really understanding how the world was moving in me and through me and as me. And it seemed like lots of things were dissolving. Relationships and things that I had loved and cherished for many, many years. I didn't understand exactly how it was working together. So on this Sunday morning at Unity in Tustin, I gave a talk that was entitled Called by God. And it asked the question, how do you know if you are called by God? And I answered that question in my talk there on the platform at Unity in Tustin 3 times in that talk. And I used the words, I know I am called by God. And then I gave examples of those moments in time that had been part of my feeling and knowing that I was called by God. And the talk, I felt, went really, really well. I was feeling very happy about it and confident in it. And on Monday morning, it's sort of usually a laid back day for me after having done a Sunday service. There's actually 2 or 3, depending on what era we were in, at Unity in Tustin, and sometimes workshops in the afternoon, and a long day. And so I was kind of laid back and sitting at the bathroom mirror, curling my hair, and on the spin-up piano bench stool that my father had for me when I was a child. And all of a sudden, I feel the words coming in. It's as if I hear them being spoken to me. Sometimes I rarely have actually heard a voice, but often they come through as if they're invisible, and it's almost like hearing words on a telephone call. And the words were, your concept, you are no longer called by God. Your concept of God is too limited. And I sort of jolted, surprised. I didn't think my concept of God was limited. We had created a campus of consciousness. We were integrating East meets West. People were coming and speaking that were known all over the world as master teachers of spirituality. I thought I had a vast awareness of what God meant, integrating all the world religions. And yet here was this voice speaking to me in the privacy of my own home, thank God, Your concept of God is too limited. You are now called by love. And that even startled me. I thought, what does that mean? And actually said the words out loud. What does that mean? Nothing. No response. That night, I was awakened from a sound sleep and heard the direction to go to my computer. And I couldn't get back to sleep. And finally, I surrendered to the directive. And I got up and went to my computer, not at all wanting to even turn it on, but thinking maybe there would be a paragraph or two that would come answering that question that I had asked of the universe. And the words began to come. And about 7 pages later, they stopped, just stopped. I was writing an email shortly after that to Joel Fotinas, who was then at that time a vice president of publishing for Tarsha Penguin. And I described it to him and said to him, if you're interested in seeing what came, I've attached it. And he answered, and the answer to that email is in my book. You can look under Joel and find the answer. And now we are celebrating 7 years of Fabienne being here at Unity in Tustin. And what a beautiful, beautiful gift that has been in my life. I am so grateful. So, Fabienne, one of the things I want to do at some point, either now or later, is I want to invoke the Holy Spirit in healing prayer for some of the people that we know about in our own tribe and people that we love who have experienced the coronavirus. Do we want to do that now, or do we want to do that later?
We can do it now. I think it's a good idea. I was also present with that and was going to go there next. So go ahead and let's do that now.
All right, let's invoke the presence and the power of the Holy Spirit and say simply, come Holy Spirit. And bring into our awareness those that we love and those that we perhaps have never met, but in the realms of love anyway. Those who have experienced this strange kind of phenomena that has brought the world to a halt, called the coronavirus, the pandemic. And one of our closest members of Called by Love cannot be on the call with us today because she has had this experience. One of my coaches that I've worked with had sent me an email this morning and described her experience. She lives in New York. I've never met her in person. People that we have met, people we have not met. People who understand paradigm shifts and people who don't. And we simply say, come Holy Spirit, reveal yourself, move in and through our lives as love. The healing power of love that we know as one of the only words that follow us through our entire lifetime, from childhood, teenage years, early adulthood, maturing years, all of the way into end of life. Bring that healing power of love and heal those who are feeling that need for healing. Fill them with light, fill them with love, fill them with knowing of their essence, the essence of the all that is. We are so grateful. And we bring in that anchor called by love from all around the world. Carrie in Australia, our Asian anchor. Michaelia in Austria. In Vienna, our European anchor, and Fabienne's family often. And we bring in people from all over the United States who are also part of this amazing tribe that is beyond a tribe. It is the universe calling us home. Those who feel this experience of being called by love. The love that helps us build our dreams, co-create together, and the love that helps us realize God by whatever we name, by whatever name we call it. Essence, all that is. God is not limited by names, and love is not limited by words. And so we ask for that healing, we ask for that co-creative energy, and we ask for that realization. And we simply say, thank you, God. Oh, beloved, thank you, thank you. And so it is. All right, Fabienne.
And so it is. Beautiful. Thank you. Yes. And welcome to everyone who is here live with us. We see some of you on camera, some of you, we see your names and know you're there too. And then we know that if everything goes well, there will be some of you also listening to this on the recording. So thank you in time and space, wherever you are, welcome. And Marj, definitely, before we even start with everyone else, because we were in a bit of a rush to get started this morning. So again, happy anniversary of those 7 years of nearly full-time partnership and co-creation. And as we start, I wanted to bring this for everyone, knowing that truly, you might say it in reverse depending how the camera works, but love is truly what binds us together. So welcome and thank you. And I know some of you were messaging me before and are on Zoom for the very first time. So thank you for being adventurous and trying this out. A few Zoom logistics. Depending how your computer or phone is set up, you might see us in gallery view with all the faces that you can see at the same time. If you're on the phone, you might need to scroll to see everybody who is here. But there is also the possibility to put yourself on speaker view, which means that only the person who speaks will be taking most of your screen. So whatever you want, and feel free to go back and forth between the two. So, oops, sorry, I was trying that, and I'm going to mute you, Marj, for a moment. Okay, great. So what else before we get fully started? So I'm doing my best to mute people as you arrive, but if you're not speaking, it's great if you can keep your mic muted. And you can have your video on or off. If everything goes well again, normally the recording will capture those of you who have your camera on. If you don't have your camera on, your name will not even show. So it's totally up to you either way. But if you're not going to be speaking on camera, then we have the chat option, and I realize now there are already a few messages there. Very good. Everybody seemed to have found that. So my suggestion for the chat is that we really use it either for people who are not going to speak live, or if there are any technical difficulties, so that we can stay focused and I only need to monitor it for what we won't be doing live, but that won't take a distraction from it. And there will be an opportunity for all of you who wants to say something to come in. So we want to hear from you. The celebration obviously includes you. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And it's really wonderful to see everybody's face and to meet, you know, like there are some of you that I know by name and Facebook and text and emails, but that I'm seeing now, I'm thinking, hi, dear, see you for the first time. Hi, and good to see you again, Noel, and Kirk is with us, Bruce, Daniel. I'm only going to say the names of the video on, so don't worry, otherwise Gaynell and David and Alana. So great to see everyone. Did I say Danielle? I hope I did, but here we go. And I also want to acknowledge, oh, and Marla. Hey, Marla. Beautiful. So I also want to acknowledge Craig is with us for the beginning, won't be able to stay with us, so that's why he doesn't have his camera on. But it's also a special time for us because yesterday we celebrated also 2 years since we met. So the 7 years of being here with Marj has also allowed that beautiful meeting. So Craig, some of you met him either on the May Call by Love when we did the mosaic of our lives, or at the just recently the Unity of Tustin Stone Soup at March birthday, and anywhere in between, the Tao tribe, and so many other ways. So I'm just delighted that we are here together. And is this a good time to start with the book, Marj?
Let me just mention that we will be sending this this video out to our mailing list. So be aware that if you speak on camera, that it will be mailed out to our entire list so people can look at it on replay.
Wonderful. And hi, Carolyn. Good to see you too. And I will acknowledge someone else who is not on camera, but I know why, so I feel comfortable saying the name. And it's Ed Miller, who told me he doesn't have a camera, but is happy to be on, and there will be more about that soon. So wonderful. Shall we start the journey? Shall we start the journey, Marj? Is that a good time?
Yes, yes. And Fabienne and I have talked about it. We're not sure quite how long it will take us to get through all of the book. There's 40 some pages in it. So we want to complete it at least after the first hour, and then allow the last 30 minutes for sharing. That's our sort of framework, and that's the usual one that we often use with Called by Love worldwide calls. 30 minutes of dialogue, and then the last 30 minutes is sharing. So
yes, and because it is different.
Beginning.
Oops. Okay, I'm getting my bearing here with the different things on Zoom. Because it is a Zoom call, and because we have the chance of seeing you and seeing the interactions, that might shift a little bit, and we will be in the organic flow. But we definitely want to hear from you. So again, thank you for being here. Just check in that you all see the screen with the book now.
And
Yes.
the other point that I wanted to mention is that on my computer, there's a place that has the gallery view up at the top, or then the speaker view. But then there's this little tiny skinny line that says hide thumbnail video. And I always click that when it goes to full screen because it will hide my picture and I can see the full picture that's on Fabienne's screen share. So this is the beginning of the book that Fabienne created. And wow, she's been working on it for a couple of weeks and I just love it. The title celebrating 7 years plus of co-creation. That word co-creation is extremely important because this is the paradigm shift we're going into, collaboration and co-creation. And it is future time in the now. So it's about me and Fabienne and all of you and all of the people, past, present, and future, who have been part of Called by Love. So we're bringing in the legacy of people in the past, all of the people that are very involved now, and all of the people who have never heard of us, who are still to come. So we are called by love. And this is a photograph of a wonderful book that Fabienne created for me one time when I was headed for Colorado. And I really wanted her to go with me. And she had other things that she wanted to do here. And she said, you can. And so she made this beautiful Facebook kind of book, and it's probably a dozen pages with wonderful pictures in it. She said, here, this is the way I'll go with you to Colorado. You can put me in your suitcase. And it was a high school reunion, and it was quite fun to have Fabienne in my suitcase and be able to show pictures of Fabienne and my work together with Called by Love to all of my friends of 50 years ago. I think that was or maybe it was 60, the 60th high school reunion. So, Fabienne.
Yes, it was a way to have your Belgian daughter in the suitcase. We put it.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's get started. So imagine this is a book opening up pages, and we will tell you more as we go along.
And there you see the book opening up to full screen. And that's when you might want to click on that little skinny mark that says hide thumbnail videos, and it'll let you see the full screen then. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you, most of all, for being you. Thank you for being called by love and being among the co-creators of our unique, sacred love story. This is not only about our individual love stories, it's about our sacred love story as a community, as a tribe, as a collective, not just on the human plane, but it's now, but even between the visible and the invisible, with some of the work that I continue to do through the veils. Welcome to the celebration.
Thank you. Yes, and I want to say a little about what is this about and what this is not about. So what is it about? The book has been created as a, when you write a card or you say things in words, it's always limited. So I wanted to find a way to be expressing the gratitude and also acknowledge a lot of what has been accomplished, shared during those 7 years, but in a way that was interactive. And so you'll see why I decided to choose this format. But in no way it is everything. And it's like the map is not the territory. Well, the book is not the 7 years and even all that preceded that either. So we were not going to talk about everything and every pictures. Originally, I thought when you look at a picture book, you don't really hear every story about everything. So Marj, as she mentioned, saw this for the first time yesterday. And she told me about some of the pictures that she would really like to comment on, which is wonderful. And I'm looking forward to all of that. And while we go through the pages, what I invite you to do is, if you have a piece of paper and a pen, to jot down either some of the memories that are in the book or are not in the book that we had together, or that were part of your life for those 7 years. And then if while we're going through the pictures and there are things we're not talking about, you have questions or curiosity about, write those down too, because that will be the part of the more interactive part where we can share the synchronicities, the threads going through everything. And you will see that if you happen to be on some of the pictures, obviously you will know why you're there and that you were there. And to me, there is one of the beauty of those 7 years is also the interconnection of parts of my life from before leading to now, and then how that all connects it. But I'm not going to talk about everything. So the focus of going through this time with the book is mostly for Marj to be able to share what she wants to share. I might add a few things, and then that you can bring up some of yours afterwards. And at the bottom, you see the timeline with all the hearts. So we started the book earlier than today, because of course it wouldn't have happened without today. But occasionally you'll see the dates with a heart through the book, so you still have an idea of where we are in the timeline. It's another way to express the Sacred Life story.
And so one of the things I noticed immediately was on the just middle right-hand top of the screen, I saw a picture of John Robinson. This would not have happened without John Robinson. I was in the desert. I was in the midst of immense grief. My beloved had died, and I was in incredible sorrow. My left brain felt like it had gone offline, and people called me, and John was one of them. And he said, you need a website. Called by Love didn't have a website. It was John Robinson. I said, well, what would it take? And he said, well, it would take, and he sort of described it. And I said, how much would it cost? And he said, I have a week between jobs, and I can do it in a week's time, and it will be my gift to Called by Love. If it wasn't for John Robinson, and if it wasn't for Karina Rent, who is also in one of these small pictures, these pictures wouldn't have been taken, many of them. So I'm so grateful for these people who simply said yes to the universe. And so the ones that just really popped out for me on this page was Chris Sexton, who is over here on the left-hand side of the screen. He helped us organize and do our legal incorporation, June 1, 2011. And in the picture below, you see one of the few times I've ever put a picture on the screen of my beloved Ron. And Ron and I went together to Chris Sexton's office to sign the paperwork. And Ron said, oh, let's take along that picture of your grandparents who were married on June 1st, many years ago. So June 1st is really an important date. And then over on the right-hand side of the screen, other pictures that are really important to me. My beloved Spencer, who has now also gone through the veils. And Spencer and Julia, his beloved, were living in Huntington Beach when they gave birth to Lily. And you see Lily's picture there. And so Spencer and I did a Called by Love event together where I interviewed him about his dreams for the future. I didn't know that his time on this plane was very limited. And so that picture for me is a treasure. Spencer is one of our guardian angels now, as is Ron on the other side.
Yes, indeed. And holding him and all of those who are not here anymore in the physical, in much love and light as well. As we go through the pictures, there are several that are in our hearts that way as well, for sure. And I wanted to share, this will probably be the only time that we do it, but originally when I chose this format for the book, it was so that it could have the multimedia effect. And so how did this come about the very first post, is because I went back to the history of the call.
We lost your voice, Fabienne. And Fabi is downstairs, so I can't easily tell her.
She's frozen. Yeah, probably the Wi-Fi connection. We're frozen for her too, so she's going to figure that out because we're not moving if she looks at us.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit of background while we're waiting for her to figure this out?
I was just sending her a text. There, it moved. So one of the beautiful things that happened as I was writing the reminder email is that all of these S words started coming in. And the S word that first came was like signs. What are the signs in our lives? What are the things that we see in our lives that we may not even recognize? The word sacred came in because it's all part of the sacred. It's part of God revealing itself or love revealing itself. And sometimes we miss it. I also had the word song come in because music has been so important to me. And one of the things that came with that was remembering a song that I actually put in the reminder email, Song of the Soul. Let us sing the song of the soul. And so, all of those things come. And Fabienne, you're connecting with the audio. Are you back?
I'm making my way back. I am so glad that the recording is supposed to go to the cloud, so I think we should still be good. I don't know what happened. So, sorry, but if you are into something, go ahead.
Well, I was just talking about all of the words that started with S. Mm-hmm. And spirit, of course, is extremely important there. And the silence and stillness. For me, when I align with spirit, I can most readily access it by my intention when I'm in the stillness or when I'm in the silence. Sometimes it comes to me when I'm not in the silence and I have no control over that. But stillness is really important. Sometimes it comes as surprise. And surprise is extremely important because I have found over and over again that sometimes it'll come as shock and surprise. That's happened for me with death. It's happened for me with endings of relationship. And what I've seen in my own life is that it almost always is opening me into the next level of my life that I don't even know is coming. It's like from future time coming back into this present time. It's part of a destiny path, and I don't always even understand it. So synchronicities begin to show it, and symbols begin to show it. So Fabienne, go ahead.
Yes, so all these S words, and last night I thought about an important one that we didn't put on the list, but I wanted to bring up is synergy, and how everything really, like through the co-creation, how the synergistic effect is so important. And so the other aspect here is on the reminder email, because it was August 8th, the Lion Gates portal 8/8 on Saturday, we had this topic of the double infinity. So what you didn't see when Zoom kicked me out was when I went back to the very, very first post and Call by Love, and you're welcome to do that. Just go to the Call by Love Facebook post, and as you wait, you're able to see literally the history since 2011 of all those beautiful pictures that Karina, Vanessa, Fern, I think, and others have posted over the years. And this picture came with the infinity. So I'm hoping that Ed will come and share with us, because that brought up a beautiful synchronicity. So we'll open that for share after that. And this is the beginning of before this August 12th. So I call this the July 2013 conversions, when so many elements and a vision from Rita, and then Marj and Kay being sick at Call by Love, like all those elements that came together. And then even in the month when between Marj and I decided I would come to help to the day that I arrived, it was so many parts of my life where as the fractal, everything was present in that month and in the leading to that. So there is at the bottom, right in the corner, there is literally a picture of me after I rang the bell and before Marj came to open the door, as I had Courtney's dad, my good friend Matteo, who drove me because we had an event together before. So just so many synchronicities. And of course, the pertinence of the topics. You know, this was going to be the first Call by Love in August at the time 7 years ago, and how relevant it is even today, the willingness to see it all without judgment.
I love this picture because it really is also about beginnings. But on the left-hand side, you see Lynn and Jose, who live in Sedona. And I had not met them, but they had heard about us, and Jose had called me and said, we'd like to come and see the garden. And they came and we walked through the garden together. The beginning of an amazing relationship. And they ended up being part of the group that came to Love as Never Before in Laguna Hills last year. And I've been on their integral Sedona call and talked about Called by Love. So all of these intersections in time are so important in our lives. Another one, of course, is Adya Shante. And Adya and I go way back to the early 2000s when we met at Inner Directions in La Jolla. And I said to him, Adya, you're going to be all over the world. I see it so clearly. And he looked at me and he just laughed and he said, Marj, I'm only talking to people in their living rooms in Southern California. Well, guess what? Adya's now all over the world. So what an amazing moment it is to realize that we've had these connections that are beyond time.
Yes, and synchronicity, Lynn and Jose and Caroline, we had met at an event before. So that was just one of the many, many examples where those things come together. And I just had to put the very first Call by Love newsletter too, because we know there have been so many since. I counted about 300. But this was just the beginning. And again, now I will not comment in a lot of picture. I'll let Marj comment on hers, but please take it in. And as I said, take your notes and questions and we'll get back to them. of course, the Living Loving Legacy, which was the first reason why I came, and still available for replay. So many beautiful interviews there.
And the amazing thing is, I was trying to do this myself. I've always known, I'm smart enough to know that there are a lot of people who know more than I do. You need to go back one. Lots of people who know more than I do, and I go to coaches to teach me how. And Brett Thomas was one of my early coaches on Living Loving Legacy. And Evan Townsend, who lives in Amsterdam, and he had done a telesummit, and I had been on a telesummit that Evan had rescued Brett on because he got in over his head. And that was, interestingly, where I met Jeff Carrera that I interviewed last month for our dialogue. But I didn't know how to do a telesummit. I had not a clue. And so I got coaching to help me learn how, but I was so far over my head with technology. And Fabienne knew a lot more than I did and still does. And what I know is that Fabienne being here was a God job. This is the universe saying, I am bringing this person to you. This is what my plan in this unfolding energy that we are called by love needs to go forward. And so go on our website for Living Loving Legacy. Click on some of those pictures. Like if you click on Andrew Harvey, you'll see a whole, and this is true for all of them, intersections in time. How did I meet him? How did we happen to connect? How did it all come about? And those same kind of intersections in time, I promise you, are happening in your life now. Most of the time you don't recognize them, but they're happening anyway. So Ed Casey is on the call today. One of the most important intersections in both of our lives happened in 1972 when we met each other. And we're still friends now, almost 45, 50 years later. So look for those intersections in time that can be life-changing for you.
And following the Living Loving Legacy, we had several teleclasses, 4 weeks, 8, 10 weeks, and indeed we had some field trips, and that included Called by Love being in Hollywood. So we just had to put that for the wink, but there was so much more. And then another little wink, we had the Finding Your Golden Thread telecourse, and then for this birthday, March gave me this book from Holly. Sorry, with the camera, it's not working, but it's the Golden Thread. So another full circle.
And so I love some of these pictures. I am absolutely delighted to see some of the pictures from Sedona World Wisdom Days. It's just one of the stage and the platform in Sedona, where I was one of the keynote speakers. There were other keynote speakers like Jean Houston, who had been on Living Loving Legacy, and our beloved friend that was hosting it is up there in the top right-hand corner, Jerry Gilden. And I just have a feeling that our connections are not complete yet. There will be more connections, intersections in time. So watch out for these. And I love the one in the top left-hand corner when we Called by Love Institute received a very prestigious award from Orange OC1, which is a volunteer organization in Orange County, an award we were one of their 2015 Spirit of All Volunteer Team honorees. So Fabienne, back to you.
Yes, we're going to go on and just acknowledging also the date when Called by Love Institute received the official 501c3 nonprofit status in August 2014. There was a whole synchronicity. All of those pictures, all of those items could be like a whole explanation. So, and we might come to that, but for now we won't have the time to do everything. So take it in, and we want to hear from you afterwards.
And then some of you will recognize the picture of me with Big Sur in the background that is part of our website now. This was on a wonderful, wonderful trip to Northern California to a retreat with Adyashanti. And it was magical, but there were storm clouds also. And so there's a chapter in my book called Kissing the Darkness that is the story of Fabienne's and my trip heading into the darkness, and a horrible, horrible storm that was devastating, and then finding a room where we could spend the night, and then the next morning retracing our steps. And it's almost like we have to do sometimes in our lives as we go into things that are stormy and may require forgiveness in our lives even. So that chapter's in the book, Kissing the Darkness. And I love some of the titles of intensives that were coming out of that time. Changing Paradigms, Past, Present, and Evolutionary Future. And Out of the Womb and Into the World. I think we're living that right now in 2020. We're in a womb time, and we are going into an entirely different paradigm. And future time is coming in, like it or not. And the virus actually was the mechanism that brought the whole world to a stop.
2015, so much that year as well. This doesn't even cover it all. However, I did wanted to mention something specific here, and it's related to the painting with Rick. We mentioned Rick and Lisa earlier, and this was the first and so far only time that we did painting in the garden. And so many of us have the painting that, you know, Rick led us step by step to do the painting. And so Marj has hers, I have mine. I know David has his at his home. And the other day I was talking to Rick, and I said, you know, Rick, I still think it would be great to be to do another painting class with where you lead it to do the Site 6 logo of Called by Love that we have everywhere. That was a but stained glass. And he said, let's do it. So I'm just putting it out there that this might still happen.
And in the lower right-hand corner, you see a picture of Patricia Ellsberg. She's married to Daniel Ellsberg, the infamous author of the Pentagon Papers. And he was called by Richard Nixon the most dangerous man in America. And when Fabienne and I stayed with them, often Patricia hosted me for an entire year when we were part of the Evolutionary Collective, and I'm just so grateful for that. And Nancy Marmoleo, who is a coach and standing next to Patricia there. Also in that picture, again, you see Spencer and Lily. He's holding her now, and she's like growing up. And I love that picture of her looking at me. It's almost as if she's totally intrigued, just looking at me with the eyes of love. I've often wondered if Ron came back as Lily, because she was born only a few months after he passed through the veils. It's kind of amazing to see how these kinds of unexpected events happen.
There was so much more that happened this year, and it's actually 2015. Also the time when Rick and Lisa helped us to rebuild the website, and some of those pictures are from August 5 years ago. So another anniversary also unfolding. And so many beautiful memories. And again, so many interconnection from so many parts of life. So to be continued. And if some of you are here, we'll talk about them.
And being on Greg Friedman's radio show out of Laguna Beach, just incredible, incredible gifts. I love these posters. They represented a vision that I had and still have to be a teacher of teachers. I used to do that when I was a secondary school teacher. The surrounding colleges and universities used to send student teachers to classrooms in actual schools, and I was a high school teacher, and I was one of their master teachers, a teacher of teachers, and I wanted people to learn how to lead Called by Love, how to work with the stages. And so this whole year was done by people in Called by Love co-teaching with me, wonderful teachers like Elizabeth doing Site 1 and Eric doing Site 2, and Alon came, who's part of Called by Love, but also is living in Oregon now and is from France. So another international connection. David, you're on the call, and there's your picture. You taught that garden site, Site 3, and Dreamwork, and David and I co-taught Dreamwork for 3 years on Friday nights in Called by Love. David is a master facilitator of dream work. And ultimately, we started having group dreams. And that was an incredible, incredible experience. Laurel Schwartz is there. And she taught the one about Site 7. And Brianna Webster is there. And she was involved in teaching Site 8. And you will see a picture of the Kuan Yin, who, in the words of, I can't remember who it was, maybe Kay, you'll remember, but someone in a community meeting said, and even the Kuan Yin walked off. The Kuan Yin's no longer in the garden. That Kuan Yin disappeared during a time of turmoil. And even the Kuan Yin walked out. So, oh, and Bud, the butterfly over here, that was one of his pieces of art that he created for Laurel Schwartz.
Yes, that year was really the co-creation at its fullest, with everyone taking a role. And the one I had facilitated is today also, and with David, we started the dream work on Friday night today 4 years ago. So that's another anniversary that's right in timing, and it was the Love and Wisdom Fractal. But I want to acknowledge also Kay, because not just for the intensive, but all the supports through all the years of preparing, that was truly godsend as well.
Oh, yes. And Kay did the Cave of the Heart. She facilitated that intensive and did such a beautiful job with it. And Coral, who is now living in Arizona, I think, did the Site 4. And so this has been a co-creative, collaborative energy evolving and unfolding. And I see Michael Ward up there that I always had to sort of coax him. But once he said yes, he would, and there's Ed. I see Ed's picture up there. Once Michael would start, he led one on leadership one time with me, and he's absolutely amazing, but very, very not wanting to be a teacher in that sense. And yet he's an amazing master teacher. So I'm wondering how many of you might be in that same category. Amazing master teachers and have just not said yes to that being something that you identified with yet.
Yes, and of course, I have to mention, this was also the year where we finally got to meet Melanie in person, because that was when Melanie came to Southern California to be with us and facilitate the Site 5. And we really hold Melanie and John in our prayers, and I know that she'll be back with us soon.
And, you know, there's another intersection in time, because Melanie was the virtual assistant for George Cow, who is one of my coaches. And Melanie called me and said, "You're not in a mastermind group yet. It's one of the requirements for being in this community." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I just hadn't gotten around to doing it." And she said, "Well, how would you like to be my mastermind partner?" And that was the beginning of our relationship. And now she donates her services as a virtual assistant. It's her gift of love. I said, "Melanie, we have no money to pay you. Everyone that's involved does it as a gift of love." And she said, "I didn't ask you for money. I told you I wanted to be part of it." Really important. At one point in our journey, money backgrounds and consciousness and love foreground. And in this picture, you see Andrew Harvey and I when we were doing my book launch at Unity of Tustin, and my wonderful, wonderful book that Fabienne was so important, and Ed helped proofread. He came to visit and he read through it 3 different times in order to do the last proofreads with me. And thank you, Ed Casey. And my book, my very first book, was published when I was in my late 70s, Your Soul's Invisible Codes, Unveiling Your Sacred Love Story. This also has pictures of our Big Bear retreat. And the Big Bear retreat was extremely important. And there's Cassidy down in the lower left-hand corner. Cassidy was so important in some of the photography and inspiration for me. And his company that he works for, he has a role that is something like marketing director for the whole country. And one of the ways they market their company is through what he calls love stories. And it's all about motorized bicycles. And the love stories, people talk about how much they love the experience that having this bicycle brings to them in their life. And so work is one of the ways that love shows us the way in the world of our adult years when we work for a living.
Yes, 2000, all those years, so many parts, so many factors. And if you didn't see it yet, there was a link in the email about the Big Bear retreat, and we had never shared those pictures, so those videos. So hopefully you enjoy that as well.
And one of the results of of Cassidy's love story are the wedding pictures in the top right-hand corner here. Fabienne, I'll let you talk about this page.
Yeah, well, it was, we started with Lily being the youngest person at Called by Love and the baby at Called by Love, and then having a wedding at Called by Love. And that has been indeed the results of so much. And also, I think the first time I met Cassidy was at a Summons to Love event with Andrew Harvey. So that's beautiful. And it's also, for me, and Craig, 2018 being a special year because, as I said, 2 years ago, yesterday is when we met. So our sacred love story started then.
And Marla's in a couple of pictures on this page or on the left-hand side. And Marla was my son's beloved. They had an amazing love story. And if they'd had some of the tools and skills that we teach in Called by Love, they wouldn't have potentially had as many speed bumps in their life.
Yes, Marla, it's great to have you also.
And this was my 80th birthday. Fabienne put together a surprise party, and it was incredible, absolutely amazing. And there are the birthday pictures.
And again, all those pictures are on Call by Love Facebook. So I know, Alana, it's so cute. I see you with your magnifying glass trying to see the picture. But we will, you know, you'll be able to see them again. But all the pictures are in full size. Not all those pictures, but a lot of the pictures that are very small here are on the Call by Love Facebook site. So you can, Facebook page, you can see them as well. And then last year was also a time of going to Belgium for the first time with Craig. And of course, I met his family in the meantime. And there is, we can talk a lot about that, but I just want to mention that picture in front of the wall of the I love you. This is I love you written in all the languages of the world in Paris. So that was a special memory to share as well. And just really quickly, the bottom right corner there, it's Marj and I did the DNA testing, and it turns out we have so many similarities. Also, there was like another big synchronicities. These are just more synergies, more synchronicities, and not for today.
This was, that picture actually showed love as never before in Laguna Beach, or Laguna Hills. And it was an event that we did with Terry O'Fallon, and it was so incredible because 100 people came from all over the world. And at the end of the call today, I want to remind me, Fabienne, I want to mention the course that's coming up with Terry. And I want to send an email out to you to let you know about that on the frontiers of consciousness, the late stages. It's the leading edge. And so anyway, go ahead and turn the page.
Yes, we are coming to close to the present moment.
Yes, and Suzanne Giesman, Alana, you and I went together for advanced training with Suzanne Giesman. She communicates through the veils. Messages of Hope is her book, and she has a Unity FM radio show. And here she interviewed me for that show. And this is what I think one of our frontiers are. It's not just from birth until death. It is also when we go through the veils, and our ability to come back and communicate with those that we love, that love never dies.
And this was also the year of for me, the first time at Unity Village, and being able to see all that. And there is more pictures of that time. And again, really aware that we want to hear from you. So more synchronicities, but just turning the pages and coming to the present moment so we can all hear from you.
And we will be sending this out with a link to you, so you'll be able to look at it yourself, and you'll have the ability to turn the pages and experiment and play with it. That'll be fun for you too. And the mission of Called by Love is so powerful, to harness the power of love as a revolutionary and evolutionary force, healing lives, building dreams, building purpose, realizing purpose and destiny and legacy, connecting ordinary and extraordinary people to their fullest potential, and bringing awareness and light into the world.
And that's the book. And again, the book is not the full 7 years. It's only part of it. But hopefully this was brought some memories, or if you're new, it brought some questions. So I'd love to hear from everyone. And the way we're going to do this, is if you click on the participants, because I'll also may be able to see if you wave your hand, but if you click on the participant tab, there is another box that's going to open, and there is raise your hand that should appear there. So let's see if that works, and if not, I'll just have the gallery view and see if anybody waves and would like to share what it felt like to. I see Kirk, it's the first one I saw. So if you are unmuted, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm trying to see if I can unmute you. I think you are unmuted, Craig. I think, Kirk, we can hear you.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Okay.
Good. This has been delightful, and I thank you, Fabienne, for putting all of this together. Add my thanks to Marj's appreciation. It's really an historical masterpiece for Called by Love. Well, thank you. You know, my greatest takeaway from Called by Love is the practice of Right My Soul. And I've talked to Marj a few times in years past about that. And I continue to do it, Marj.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. Actually, people can look in my book under Write Your Soul and see some directions. We need to maybe even do a course on that sometime. You and I should maybe co-teach something like that together, Kirk.
Well, my soul and I have gotten to be very, very close on a first name basis, actually. My soul calls me Kirk. I call my soul I am.
That's so beautiful. That's exactly how it works.
But
So
I'd like to share with you all a message that I received from my soul just a couple of months ago. And it's in response to a question I had about the pandemic and the divine purpose behind it. And this is how my soul responded. Many are recognizing the pandemic as an instrument to provoke the raising of consciousness for humanity in general and for the receptive and influential in particular. The tipping point, which you have referred to many times, Marj.
yes.
The tipping point, as you know it, is to be reached and tipped before humanity sinks lower in the muck of selfishness, fear, and greed than it currently finds itself. Everyone has a role. Those already enlightened have special parts to play as leaders and influencers. And then yesterday evening with the Mutz group, we reviewed the vision and mission statements of Unity of Tustin. And as some of you may recall, in both statements, the word awakening occurs. In the case of the vision statement, it's a global awakening. And our church's vision is to participate in a global awakening. In the mission statement, awakening again is mentioned, but it's on the personal level, that is the individual and the collective level in respect to our church committee, our community. And I've always regarded Called by Love as certainly a local pioneer in participating in a global awakening.
Yes.
And particularly when you got on the web, that was an important marker for that that form of participation. I'm so pleased to know that Unity of Tustin is going to combine its sanctuary services with the Facebook service, so that it's picking up where you've been all along here and sending out the unity message globally,
Yes.
with the idea that we will indeed for sure participate in a global awakening of consciousness. And that thrills me.
That's really beautiful, Craig and Kirk. And you know, what I want to do is I want to send you some information about a course that I'm going to be sending to the whole Called by Love mailing list. And it's this one, Frontiers of Consciousness. These are the stages of awakening. You can have state experiences of awakening all the way up and all the way down. A baby's smile and a baby's laughing eyes are an example of a very early kind of alignment. However, when you move into the rare stages, but humanity is moving there now, sometimes faster than their spiritual leaders are. It's fascinating. And I think you might even be interested in taking this course with, and we'll talk more about it. I'll give you a call.
Okay.
As I'm looking at everyone's, yes, thank you, Kirk, for this beautiful share. And it's just so beautiful to see everyone. For me, that's definitely one of the advantages on Zoom, is that we can see each other. There are some of you here that I know we've meant to catch up for a while. I'm thinking of also of you, Noel. And it's beautiful to see you and be connected. And also it reminds me, you know, I meant to say that at the beginning, but all that has happened from all the way back before I got here, all those 7 years and beyond, so far, everything has been done through volunteers and then through the love donations of those of you who have chosen to help us through that. So I thank you that you have been volunteering, donating, and participating all the ways. You know, it wouldn't be existing without all those parts. So, and Ginelle, I see you, and I also wanted to thank you for all your help for Marj's birthday, because that was also a big support, and it was a big enterprise to put that together. And I'm just so delighted that David, Mara, I mean everyone who is here. So I'd love to hear from more of you. It doesn't have to be about the book, but anything that's on your heart. Oh, I see Caroline.
Well, I would like to just say something in addition to what you said about the love donations, Fabienne. We have monthly expenses that we have to pay for platforms and all kinds of things that are required in order to do all of the things. And Fabienne came to me 2 or 3 months ago and said, our bank account is almost empty. And do we want to stop doing some of the things we're doing? Or, you know, and it was right at that time I happened to get my stimulus check for $1,200. And I donated 100% of it to Called by Love Institute, because we were at a closed down point. And so I really, really invite you, if you can consider a love donation, to be part of that support, because it does make a difference. And so let's hear from some other people now.
Yes, I'm trying to unmute. I know, Caroline, you asked to speak. I'm trying to unmute.
Sure.
Here you go. Yes.
Okay, I unmuted.
Yes.
I'm so happy to be here and see all of your faces. You've been such a part of my life and to where I'm at now in this beautiful home in Arizona. And, you know, back to what Kurt was saying, writing your soul. I had volumes of books where we did that with you, Marge. And it was just the way that we grew from that. And when you went through every 7 years too, when we went through that, I saw that time and time again. And I just marvel, especially when COVID first happened, we moved to Arizona. It was February 19th, and then everything pretty much hit, and it was snowing outside, and the view from our window is just spacious. It's just acreage around, and I was just so grateful because everything that I had written down in there, but my, you know, purpose and my goals and all of those kinds of things, they were all there. And, you know, it just all came into fruition. And being able to recognize that where I came from, you know, you were kind of like camp counselor. When I came in, you know, that was 2012 for me. And I don't know why, by the grace of God, he put me there. And I was there and seeking and learning, you know, the maps of consciousness and all the different things. You know, Paramahansa Yogananda was my guy at the time. And just the way that you guided us through. And David, I know you're on there. My gosh, you taught me how to hear God in my dreams, and I hear it all the time. Thank you. And yeah, basically, I just want to let you know that, you know, I kind of, the 7 years that you talk about, that 7 years of completion, 2012, around March is when I was pulled out by God. And 7 years later is when my dad passed. And it was like this complete circle. And that's close to the time I met Roger and we married and we came here. And, you know, because of you also, I was able to hear the messages in the Bible, which I was not able to hear before. And Paramahansa Yogananda also helped with that. It was all, actually, it was a path home. And now I'm actually studying the Bible, which I find fascinating because I never really knew what was in it. I just had decided, probably from unresolved childhood things, that I wasn't going to be told what to do. So I kind of turned away from it a bit. But now I am studying it actually very actively, and I'm just amazed by it. And I wouldn't have been able to hear that if it wasn't for you. So I just want to say thank you, and Fabienne and everybody that was in Called by Love when I was there. It was just an amazing, amazing experience, and thank you.
When did you move to Arizona?
We moved February 19th.
Wow.
Yep. Yes.
Amazing.
And the horses run, and yeah, it's wonderful. I have my chickens and my dogs.
You still have Fate?
There you go. Pardon?
Do you still have your horse Fate that celebrated one birthday?
I have Faith, and we have 2 others, and 6 chickens in the barn, and 2 dogs, and wow. It's just, my view is of a mountain and a valley, and it's just everything. You know, the I just feel so at peace.
So where in Arizona?
Prescott Valley.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, see, if it wasn't for Zoom, we wouldn't be able to see you because you're further now. So I'm grateful too that you were able to venture on Zoom for the first time. So thank you. Welcome. And I think I saw Kay waving. Did you want to speak, Kay? Great. You can probably unmute yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to try to find you. Here you go.
Unmute me. Let's see.
I'm asking.
Here
Okay,
we go.
yeah, here you go, Kay.
Okay. Well, I came to Called by Love at the very beginning. And looking back on it, it just, it was beautiful. And I just have so many wonderful memories. And I realized how enriching it was, how much I learned. And seeing some people, it's great seeing David again. I wish we could have his dream analysis back in some way. He was a master. And I love the idea of Kirk and Marge teaching Write Your Soul. We need courses like that at Unity. And I have been attending the outdoor services. They are beautiful. And I feel very safe there on Sundays. I would urge people to come if you can make it. But this whole experience, Marge, has just been wonderful to look back on. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being with us. I'll see you on Sunday. I'll be there. And I see Danielle would like to speak.
Well, hi, everybody. Marge and I go back to the very beginning. I remember those early days when we weren't sure exactly what we were doing, but we knew that what we were doing was important to our hearts and important to the people who we connected with. And that it's so great to see that the energy, the follow through that has been there on your part, Marge. While I haven't been as involved in these latter years, that I have followed it along, and I deeply appreciate the gift that you give to the people of the Tustin community, as well as those who you've reached out and touched far beyond. That I expect that you'll be doing this for a good while longer, and thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel. I treasure all of the ways that you have given yourself so significantly to Called by Love and also to Unity of Tustin. And actually look forward to our future connections. And I don't know exactly how it will all unfold, but I know that the universe is not done with us yet.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I learned a long time ago, don't argue with the universe.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's great to have you with us. So you can either wave or raise your hands on the technology side if you would like to share. And Michelle, it's great to see you too. I don't, hey, anybody wants to give me a sign if.
Sorry for coming late to the party.
Oh, Bryce. Oh, it's okay.
I just started a new job this week.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Bruce, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
I just want to say hi to everybody. Hello, Marge. I haven't really been active in this group. I pop in once in a while just to see what you guys are up to. And I was here last time because Jeff Carrera was on last time, and as a result of that meeting, I signed up for his 30-day meditation gathering, which is going on now. We're on day 26 now.
Incredible. Tell us a little about it.
Well, you know what? Tough to put into words. But Jeff is a wonderful teacher in that he teaches as little as he can. And he mentioned that because he gives us little guides, little pointers to kind of point toward the miracle of meditation. But he doesn't teach directly because he says ego will grab that teaching and turn it into a project, and we'll go running off on this project rather than resting in the silence. And so his teaching is very subtle, and he comes up with on each day we have a little saying of directive. Like yesterday it was, when you have no memory, there is no you. And so we've been exploring, just settling into that place before anything was ever known. Today it was, enlightenment is the humbling recognition that there has always been something more important than you happening. And so, it's silent meditation, which, the more you talk about it, I think the further you get away from it. But it really has been a wonderful experience. The reason I signed up was my meditation practice had really kind of sagged into hit and miss, and I wanted to revitalize it. And it's certainly done that for me.
Incredible. Thank you so much for bringing up. And people can still listen to that dialogue with Jeff Carrera. It's in the reminder email that Fabienne sent out. And Jeff is just an amazing, amazing teacher and beautiful soul. And he considers that and the intersection in time with me at Unity Village, his launching into being a public teacher. And so it's really inspiring for me to hear someone like Jeff Carrera talk about how important a moment in time when we connected was in his own path of following his destiny. And Jeff is an incredible, incredible teacher. And this next month in September, that I'm doing a dialogue with Brian Grandin. And Brian Grandin is a Unity minister, but he's also a longtime student of David Hawkins and weaves a lot of David Hawkins' work into his work as a minister and teaching as a Unity minister. So be sure and tune in for that call. Bruce, you will love that.
I'll be there. I just wanted to add that I was there at that gathering at Unity Village when Jeff had that, and so it's nice to have that history, because that was a very special gathering for me too back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'd like to hear a little bit more of an update from Michelle. You said a few words, and
I already unmuted Patty, so Michelle will come right to you right after that.
Good
Go
job.
ahead, Patty.
Hi, it's Patty. I'm just in awe, Marj, of what a visionary you are, bringing Unity online, bringing all these amazing speakers in. During this COVID time, I've asked myself, have I become codependent with my church? It's like things come up all day long, and I keep thinking about the church. Oh, we should do this. I should tell this person that. And you and Fabienne are just my absolute angels. And I listening to you all and seeing your latest fabulous book makes me regret I haven't been more intimately involved with Cult by Love. And it's interesting to me because it's like all day long I'm doing spiritual stuff. It's either A Course of Love or the Sunday morning service, or I feel like I'm doing it, Sunday supper, and yet I haven't found the time within myself to be more active in Course of Love, and I regret it now. But you've been such an amazing impact on my life. I mean, in all respects, and I just want to salute both of you for your work, and for all of you, because Unity is not just the minister. We recognize now, as we've gone through, what is it, 3, 4 all these ministers lately, it truly is the community, and you're my spiritual family, and Bruce and Michelle and Gaynell. It's so wonderful to see all of you here today. Thank you very much and know you have my total love and support, even if I'm not always physically present.
I would love to have you get involved with the course that I'm talking about, that I mentioned to Kirk, because the Frontiers of Consciousness, I really keep getting a direct message from Spirit that this is part of Unity of Tustin's evolutionary path. It's part of their destiny path. There is no place in the unity movement that is teaching about this kind of transition. And the fact that I was there for 19 years and then in the last 8 years, there's been 4 different ministers, tells you that it was going through some kind of transition that probably no one understood. And I didn't even understand it when I stepped off of the bricks and mortar platform. I was called by love, and I didn't even know what that meant. Now I'm beginning to know a little more, but it's still just glimpses. But what I have a feeling is that we are supposed to, in some way, become a center of light again in a way that will be relative to this shift from the subtle realms into the more causal levels, and what this course is calling frontiers of consciousness. And we were beginning to go there, and I didn't even know it. A lot of it began with my teaching David Hawkins there, and then Nisargadatta Maharaj with Richard Jennings and I co-teaching, and then the teachings that I was doing with David now, and the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. This is all causal plane realm material. It's what Terry O'Fallon calls meta-aware. And the research shows that there's very, very few people in the larger populations there yet. And yet enough people are entering it now that it's showing up in the research. And the thing I have to announce to all of you is that one of the things Called by Love Institute will be launching, and I will be launching, I've been doing a year of development work in it, is a short computer scored version of the Love Stages Inventory that will be available as a gift for people who take it in the beta phase. There were about 20 or 30 people that took the long form in the beta phase from Unity of Tustin or Called by Love. And that research added to the database, and it stands on 30 years of research in consciousness. And it's really rigorous research. It's not sloppy or in any way. You have to do beta phases, and then you have to do consistency studies and test it against 30 years of research to make sure that it is that it aligns. So you'll be hearing about that. We're going to be announcing it very, very soon. In fact, it could be sooner because the course is actually starting the middle of September. And if you want to get on an early bird special, you need to know real soon. So I'll try to get something out to you in the next few days or so. Fabienne, back to you.
Yes, well, I'm aware of the time, but I'm also aware more people would like to speak. And so the great thing about Zoom is we're not limited on time. So I know a few of you need to go. So don't worry if you need to go. We won't take it personally. Hopefully the recording will have worked despite the little glitch at the beginning. I know Michelle would like to speak. I see David would like to speak. And I would like to check in. The person on the phone, we don't see a name or
Oh, it's me. It's Laurel. I want to talk to.
Oh, hi, Laurel. Okay. Does any of you three that we already know about needs to leave? David, Michelle, no. David, do you need to leave? Okay, Laurel, why don't we start with you, because we won't see you and I don't want to forget because we see you in a different way.
And I want,
okay. I'm calling in on a dial-in line, so that's why you can't see me. So I don't.
Good to hear you.
Yeah, so I don't have the video, so I can't see the book, but this has been such a joy and such a delight to hear you speak about all of the chapters and all of the pictures, and it's just come to life, and such beautiful memories, and just to see it unfold in this way is just, it's beautiful. It's really amazing. And I heard you mention the prayer box that Bud made, and I'm looking at it right now, actually. And I just wanted to say that I am so grateful that I was able to do Site 7, the Sabbath. It was the mystical Sabbath, a Kabbalistic Sabbath. And it was a really lovely experience. And I think that especially with this time that we're going through now, that there's a place for a Sabbath, and there's a place to really embrace that, and that it will be vital, I think, in the future for healing.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're on the call, Laurel. And I also want to tell you that I am enrolled, and I'm assuming you might also be, in the Rabbi's Shift Network course. That is the rabbi in Boulder, Colorado, who's teaching some of the advanced Kabbalah. And
Yeah, I didn't sign up for the whole course, but I did listen in, where they have an hour-long one. And I never had heard her before. I knew of her, but I hadn't heard her until you sent me some information about her. And so I did listen in, and I was really glad to be able to hear that too, because I think that these are teachings that we need to elevate consciousness, and also for healing of the planet, especially with everything that we're going through now. These things are important. They have to come to the fore. We need to use them. And I just wanted to say also that I was thinking about that workshop on Site 7. We had the Kiddush cup, the wine goblet, that I had given to you when you were my rabbi for my bas mitzvah. And on that goblet it says, Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. I am to my beloved as my beloved is to me. And next week, the month of Elul, the Hebrew month of Elul, will be starting. And Elul is an acronym for Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. And it starts this time of embracing the beloved and the preparation towards the high holidays in Judaism, where then it culminates with the Day of Atonement, or the Day of At-One-ment. So it's a very sacred time, and it's a beautiful time. And you mean so much to me, and all of you mean so much to me. And I just was so happy to be able to listen in today.
Thank you. And Laurel, while you were speaking of the goblet, Fabienne got it from my bookshelf. She's downstairs and held it up in front of the camera so people could see it.
I'm so glad you were able to join us. And yes, I was also thinking about, the 7th anniversary, and then the Site 7, and then that intensive was very meaningful as well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Michelle, do you want to go next? Yes.
Sure.
So you too.
I'm so sorry to have missed most of the party here. However, I've just started a new job. So there was a 2-hour training class this morning, so I didn't get off the phone till 11 o'clock. So that's what's happening with me, but I missed the most important parts of this.
Well, you'll be able to hear it on replay. So
Good.
Catch us up on your life, because what is this new job? And
Well, this year's been real interesting for all of us, I'm sure. Yes. But I was out in Canyon Lake at my sister's house in February to undergo a spiritual class given by Celebrate Your Life out of Phoenix. And it was the second day of the class, and Sharon was in horrible pain that night. Absolutely terrible, and took her to the hospital. And she's had a bout with kidney stones ever since then. They've gone in to do one procedure to blast all the stones. They're going in tomorrow to do the second one. So long story short, I have been out here for the past 6 months. So I was here when COVID started, you know, the whole gamut. But it's almost been that long getting up and running with this new company that that I just got hired for, and I am a health guide for Vita, which is a company based in San Francisco, and they do all types of health, you know, whether it be mental, physical, things like that. And I will be actually walking folks through the setup procedure and getting them involved with a health coach, and, you know, having them check out all of our services. So, and I just need to know what those services are so that I can do my job. So, but I'm very excited about it. It sounds like a great company, and it's in the field that I really am concentrating getting into.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michelle.
Certainly.
The perfect job for you.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Beautiful to hear and see everyone. David, I'm trying to unmute you. You can do it yourself. Go ahead.
Yes.
Perfect.
Little pop-up game. Well, thank you, Fabienne, and thank you, Marj, for putting this Zoom thing together and inviting me. This has been, I'm very grateful. It's been wonderful to be present with you all. And I guess it made me notice how much I've been not gathering with other people for much of anything for over a year now. So it's an extra pleasure to reconnect in this way. And as you both know, I've just recently finished a several-month migration from Orange County to Northern California to a very small town, not really very close to anywhere. So it's pretty wonderful here. And it's been, for me, it's been a real pleasure to be mostly alone. That's sort of how I've always been the most comfortable in my life, I guess. So this is a real pleasure to be in a little town and take occasional trips to farther away towns to go to big stores. But otherwise, I haven't had much interaction with the whole pandemic experience. So I appreciated you reminding me about the dream work that we co-hosted for several years, and I was actually thinking about that a few days ago because I was remembering how that experience, the shared dream experience that we began to notice on the Friday nights, that you know, Spirit came in and guided to say, hey, look how all of these dreams are all telling the same story. And I remember that particularly that toward the end when I came in and said, hey, I just had a dream that says I need to stop doing this dream work. And you said, oh, well, I just got noticed we're not going to be able to do this work at Unity anymore. So we had that shared dream. Anyway, that wound out for me into, as we ended doing that work and that dream work, my own dream experience also became non-memorable, which has been a relatively unique couple of years since that time. I guess it's a year and a half now. And I've kind of enjoyed it. because it's, as I've often would say when people would say you can't remember your dreams, I'd say, well, that's good. That means you don't have homework to do.
Yes.
So I've been enjoying not having a lot of extra homework to do. but I was thinking about it because very recently, the last couple of weeks, my dreams have begun to return. And I experienced that in the sense that they're more brightly lit. That's how I always had remembered it before, and so it's a welcome reappearance. And what I also notice in that reappearance is that there's a lot of people. There's a big collective that I'm participating in, and it's groups like this. There's been some Brew Joy gatherings and things like that have been present. So I was glad to be here again, and the Zoom thing is the first time I've ever done a Zoom, so this is really very interesting. And so I'm wondering if this might also be something that we could do, where I could do dream work with you through this sort of doing it with a Zoom thing. And if you're interested.
Yes.
I'm interested.
Teacher.
I see several thumbs up in addition to mine. I see Alana, Michelle saying yes, Kirk. So yeah, one of the, when Marj was talking about this intersection where I was like, what are we doing with our platforms there? Originally, we thought about using the Zoom instead of the instant teleseminar because it was actually cheaper for the year. But for now, we have both. So we have the Zoom plan, and I'll be very happy if we can do dream work for sure.
Okay.
So David, it's very interesting that you mentioned Brew Joy, because as you know, Brew Joy was someone that I brought as a master teacher to Unity of Walnut Creek when I was the minister there in the 1980s. And I always had wanted someone that could teach dream work the way I had learned it from Brew Joy, and also in my Jungian work with one of my teachers in Gestalt who had trained in the Jungian frameworks also and understood Gestalt dream work and also Jungian dream work. And Unity of Tustin was the perfect place because I was holding that vibration, and here you came. It's the way that the universe works. Vibration attracts to you the thoughts that you hold in your mind, and I'm holding a big vision. So I'm absolutely delighted you're here, David.
Well, and thank you. Yeah, Brew was a big initiation into very deep dream work.
Yeah.
For me, and it was somewhat accidental that I ended up working with Brew Joy. It was not an accident that I was seeking out opportunities that turned into, him being a teacher for me that way.
Yeah.
And then he had he had a way with things, and when I first got to start doing actual dream work with him in a collective setting, the first thing he did was push me out in front and say, so why don't you just go ahead and teach us about dreaming? Which really was putting me on the spot in a way, because he was such a master dream worker. But he did what he did, and I don't do what he did. But he pushed me out there early on. So.
Well, the other person I would love to have all of you meet is Ed Casey, if he's willing to turn on his video. Ed, are you
And well, at these sides, no pressure. We are a no pressure environment. That's at least how I see it. So in the meantime, just wave at me if anybody will. Oh, I see Heidi.
Can you hear me?
Oh, Heidi will take you next. Yes, Head, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. Well, I wasn't even sure I was on this because I don't have a picture of me coming to me.
Well,
So,
down where it says video at the bottom of your screen or wherever it is, it's because you used to be on. So
okay. Well, it says start video.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hit
there. I did. Okay.
Okay, we
All right.
see you.
Okay. So anyway, I didn't know if I was on or not, but anyway, yeah. Well, all I can say is, Marj, you've done wonderful work. Your vision and your energy and your spiritualness is just wonderful. I've witnessed it since we met back in 1972, and we've been friends ever since. And our unity is very important to both of us. And as you know, as you and I have both visited about it, we considered it intervention that you and I met, because we met at the Chiefs Stadium, Arrowhead, in June. In fact, it was Buddy's birthday, I think, June of 1972, at a singles dance. And I looked out, and there was Marj, and Marj was just so beautiful, and we went up and I asked her to dance, and she said, "Well, I'm talking to a bunch of other people," and I said, "Well, okay." And then she sat down, and then I pursued her, and we danced, and we've been friends ever since, and part of one another's lives ever since. So it's been just a treasure. You've been a treasure, and you continue to do the work, and I think that's wonderful. And I'm still in Kansas City, and I still probably the furthest one away from all these folks. But I get back and visit with you and Fabienne. And in fact, you guys were when Unity had their week here at Unity Village, and Fabienne came in. And I remember we went to a great little French restaurant, the Foo Frog,
Right.
and had a great time. So yeah, you're just a delightful person and very radiant. That's the word I was looking for when I saw you. You were so radiant. I just honed in on you, and we've been friends ever since. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with all of you.
well, Ed is actually in my book. If you look under Ed in the index, you'll see a little bit more of the story.
That's right.
Thank you for that, Ed. And as we celebrate again those 7 years, and then the double infinity, the infinity before and after, obviously it wouldn't have happened without your vision, Marj, and you being called by love, and then having us all joining in that, and that resonance of love. So, don't see it, called by love.
Well, I want everyone to realize that I didn't know what it meant to begin with.
Yes.
It's really important. When you get these kinds of downloads, when you get these kinds of calls, you don't understand what it means. Probably it will reveal itself to you step by step as you say yes. But it requires you moving out of just a receptive stage where you think it's all about you into an active stage where you begin giving it to others. You begin going into action, but it will be at different levels. And that's what this course is going to be about, that I'm going to send you the email inviting you. Actually, we'll create a pod called by Love Pod, where we have our own private discussion group and sharing group, if enough of you sign up. I think there's 3 people from Unity of Tustin that are in Called by Love that have already signed up. So I'd love to have more of you join us in that. So I'll send that out in the next few days.
Great. And Heidi, we are ready for you. So good to see you. Yeah. I'm looking forward. I mean, I know we heard each other, but we haven't seen each other, I don't think.
Yeah.
Um, in your reminder email, you were talking about Charles Fillmore, who
Yes.
started the Unity. And it reminded me of this book I have. It's called Prayer Works,
Yes.
about the unity in Missouri, this silent unity, they call it, in Missouri. And they had like a 24-hour prayer line.
Yes.
And then this book is what taught me about Charles and Myrtle Fillmore and how they both had serious disease. Yeah, they both had diseases, and they started having dreams about how they could heal themselves. And so then after they both got healed is when they started the Unity. So that was nice to know.
It's incredible. And Charles Fillmore got the name Unity in a dream. He didn't make that up. He got it in a dream. The name is Unity. And it's so perfect, so wonderful. And he got lots of pieces of vision in dreams, and in what I call downloads also. So I love the Unity work. Unity has downshifted some from the mystical levels that the Fillmores taught to more of, on David Hawkins' scale, more their Unity's work now is more in the 500s and even going into the, but Charles and Myrtle taught so that it could go all the way up and all the way down. So their book Prosperity, which I would love to teach at Unity of Tustin, actually written by Charles Fillmore. When I was in seminary, they commissioned me to write a book on it and work with Charles Fillmore's quotes and do a book and a course that was experiential. And so I wrote a book called Experiencing Prosperity. And it's all about how prosperity works. And I would go home, and I never understood what I was doing at that time. I would go home after classes every week. Every day. We got out of school because people worked in places like the prayer ministry in places in the afternoon. And I didn't have one of those jobs. I was, and I would go home and I would sit and I would invoke as, Charles Fillmore wrote the invocation, invoking the Holy Spirit. I've done that ever since. And I would invoke the Holy Spirit to help me write whatever came relative to experiencing prosperity based on a quote or a teaching from the book Prosperity. And I would ask that Charles Fillmore come and write through me. That is just amazing. That is the way I wrote my book, Your Soul's Invisible Codes, by sitting in the silence and scribing, not writing from my rational, logical mind, but scribing what comes. And many of the chapters start with a dream, as David knows, because the chapter that is about him is about it. It's the third garden site on site 3 on divine imagination. It's about starting with a dream. And the logo for Called by Love came in a dream. And I wrote that book, Experiencing Prosperity, and they commissioned it. However, they went into something about 200-year celebration, and it got delayed for a year. And by the end of that year, I was off in Walnut Creek, and the editor that had worked with me had gone to a different job, and it never got published through Unity. But I've thought about publishing it now. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way to invoke prosperity and experience. Most people take it from ideas about something and study it, but they don't know how to put it into action. They don't know how to go from studying it to moving it up through the stages of awareness into action in the subtle realms and then into the causal realms. And those are the rare stages that this new course is going to be about. They're very different than the causal realms. I mean, the causal realms are very different than the subtle realms. And on David Hawkins' scale, the subtle realms go from 500 and below, and the causal realms go from 500 and above. So love is there, joy is there, peace is there, the peace that passes understanding. Anyway, that's enough for me. We're running a little overtime, Fabienne. I'm glad
we are,
you.
but that's so great that we have flexibility. But I think I'm just going to double check. If anyone who hasn't spoken want to speak, just wave at me. No, I see one hand. Okay, so we're going to take Alana. And should we do a mini 2 minutes break as we're going so long? If anybody needs to.
Let's just go to Alana.
Okay. I'm trying to, you can just unmute Alana. There we go.
I recognize your laugh. Speak, Alana.
You've mentioned so many subjects today that I'm really interested in. And not only that, but the book was fabulous. And I can see that your life was even another dimension by seeing all those pictures and all the people around you. You study with some masters. And I love how you share about yourself, your experience of how you've gotten where you are today. It's been wonderful. And I think I'd like to take your course.
You know, I would love to have that happen. And what I want to do, if enough people sign up and there's a pod that organizes, I want us to take what you learn in the course with Terry O'Fallon teaching about the frontiers of consciousness, which is about the causal realms. She calls them meta-aware, but it's about this cosmic shift. I think that's what's happening beyond the pandemic. Is it this?
Absolutely, and it's going so fast for me in my life. I know it's all inside, and my dream life is cosmic. Lately, and then I went beyond the dream body, recognize another body of myself beyond the dream body. That's amazing.
And I would like for us to work on how we apply it in our lives, how we activate it in our lives, not just learn about it. Too many people sit in churches and listening to spiritual teachers and just listen to them talk.
That's one of my biggest complaints. One of my biggest complaints and soapbox issues is that people hear all these great teachings of higher consciousness, but they do not know how to do that, get there. So, at least they have the idea, but now they need the second step. So you're absolutely right.
It has to become experiential for it to integrate.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for this wonderful day. I just totally enjoyed it. You made my day. But, the dream cast, I've always been interested in more dreams. I've been an active dreamer. And I finally decided to study it. And so I spent 2 years documenting my dreams, my own dreams, and finding my own symbol dictionary. And I would get 3 and 4 dreams every night without losing any sleep, actually. And lucid dreaming and all those things happen. But there's always more to learn about dreams.
And I met Alana when I was in my 30s.
In your 30s? No, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, was that right?
Yes, in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And your brother introduced me to you. And then we reconnected when Alana heard me say something about my book on Brad Laughlin's Worldwide Call, and wrote me a note, and I called you. And
well, what I called you about was, I said, I want to write a book like that. I love this book. I could write a book like that. So I've started a new book, and it's about my paintings, my 20 years as an artist, and it's called Behind the Studio Door.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that a good title?
Wonderful artist.
Thank you.
I
Well,
am
thank
thrilled with this call today.
Thank you for everything.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone who joined us. And again, in time and space and the double infinity, back to the very original pose, like you are here at the center of the infinity circle. So no matter, even if you rewatch this or watch this at another time, hopefully that will be a reminder of this celebration and completion, new beginnings, all of it coming together. And Marj, do you want to close us off, and then we'll have Liebestrom.
Past, present, and future is all one. Beyond space, beyond time, all of the boundaries between past, present, and future dissolve, and it becomes one in the now moment. What you've experienced today is a glimpse of that in one small manifestation, directed, called into being by spirit, and named, called by love. With the invocation, you are now called by love. And so what is your dream of love? What is the song of your soul? What is your Liebestrom?
Beautiful.
Turn up the volume a little bit, Kathy.